Hi, my name is Dexter Labanog. I'm originally from Stockton, California, born and raised pretty much. Started Filipino martial arts in 1978 under Leo Giron. And my purpose was for self-defense. And that was the Bruce Lee years where everybody was popular. You wanted to do kung fu, martial arts, anything. And I did a lot of street stuff, backyard stuff, so my sister approached me and said, hey, a friend of mine from school is looking for some students to study Filipino martial arts. I go, oh, yeah, where's it at? And, how much does it cost? Found out it was Leo's school, and it's about a mile away from where I live, so it wasn't too far. It was only like $10 or $20 a month for two classes a week, 4 weeks a month. So it was pretty affordable at the time, 1978. And I wanted some self-defense, basically. And so when I started Leo School, there was only a few of us, Thomas Bernardo, Ray Munoz, a couple other guys, my brother. It was really small. And then about maybe about 6-8 months later, he wanted us to help him do a demo at the Barrio Fiesta. And then we started picking up a lot of students from that point forward. Became like really popular. And Angel had his thing going on too, and Dentoy Revelar had his thing going on too. And so there was these small clubs going around in Stockton that just started to grow in popularity with the Scream of Filipino martial arts. Nobody knew what it was. A lot of the karate schools didn't know what it was, unless you knew somebody. And pretty much, for me, because I dabbled in boxing, dabbled in a little bit of wrestling. I was an athlete in high school and stuff like that. So a lot of team sports, a lot of street sports, from the old neighborhood in Lever Boulevard, Georgia Street. So there was a lot of. When I started martial arts, it felt like it was really, how would you say, like a sports thing, something to keep healthy. And Filipino martial arts, if you really train into it, you'll find that it's a little bit more technical. It's more brain stimulating, the art. And the way it was taught was very different from the other martial arts. Since we start with weapons, it was opposite of karate. And so it was a very different process of learning. But it was real interesting later on in the years that I started learning. So I started in 78, graduated in 80. Let's see, then I actually went into the military in 1980, Air Force. And after that, I got stationed right back in California in Sacramento. So my first military base was in Sacramento. So I continued my training in Stockton, like I never left. At that point forward, we kind of became interested in the other schools that started to introduce themselves, like West Coast Eskrima Society. You had Dan and Santo, you had a lot of the original Escrimadors there. Lucky Lakai was there, all the guys from San Jose, and they were trying to build this organization called West Coast Eskrima Society. And that's when I saw all these different styles, like the De Cuerda style and the Lucky Lakai style. And Santo would throw his little stuff in there. After one of those meetings, that really comes to mind was when we had lunch, and Dan came with us, Guru Inasanto, and that was when he published his first book. And I was thumbing through it, and I saw the little iceberg in the back where it said, tip of the iceberg, and there's a lot more underneath it. And he signed the book and all that, and he was telling us about it. And that was the first time I kind of realized that, Filipino martial arts can really explode here as far as being accepted in the martial arts world. That more people knew about it because it was so adaptive to just about all kind of martial arts. Empty hand weapons, it's really adaptive. And I found that out too in the military when I went to tech school. There was Taekwondo, there was Goju, there was Kung Fu, and all we would spar. We couldn't have any weapons or sticks on the base, so I decided to just try it out, empty-handed. I did a little bit of empty-handed in class, but this was freestyle sparring, these guys. And I noticed I was able to slip and play with each other, because a lot of those guys, they couldn't spar with each other because of their rigid styles. But I was able to, kind of like boxing, where you adapt, you go in, you go
Podcasting entrepreneur.
Who's that?
No, it was calling.
Anyways.
Okay, let's go 5, 4.
Anyways, back to realizing how that much value the Filipino martial arts made me feel more culturally attached to it, because it came from my heritage. And then I started to realize that Leo's background is the same as my father's background. They both fought in the World War II. They both had the same medals that they achieved from the war. And then I realized a lot of my uncles, a lot of them knew Filipino martial arts, but didn't know how to teach it. They just knew how to defend themselves. A lot of them were bladed type of self-defense techniques, Then I started to learn, probably because 1980, I got married, had kids, and my wife's father was Dentoy Revelar. And so when I came back from the military and started training again in Stockton, Dentoy allowed me to train with him. And that's when I discovered the how would you say, the scientific aspect that he put together from Larga Mano, De Cuerdas, and then Serrada. The way he assembled it and the way his concept and philosophy made me realize that you have to learn these ranges in order to adapt to whatever you come against. And so that made me more interested. So I continued to learn and learn and learn. And then when the West Coast Eskrima Society kind of fell apart after a few years, there was no venue for us to gather or have meetings or meet each other. So we decided to create the Eskrima Coalition, which consisted of Tino, Leo, and Dentoy. It's kind of like the trilogy of, because they were the only ones that sort of like, how would you say, wanted to allow anyone and everyone to be part of this energy. Because what it was just a thing we wanted to have tournament, which also allowed you to gather, to meet, to allow individuals to demonstrate their style or system during halftime or during midpoint, break time. Mm-hmm. And we saw a lot of different stuff, like Bandalan would show up, Kakoi would show up, a lot of the old guys, Lucky Lukai would show up, and they would do these little demos, and you could see the differences of how their concepts were, and their preferences were different. And you would see that, but then again, you would say, I know that move, but it looks a little bit different. It's applied differently, and it kind of fell on me. It's the teaching system. Everybody starts to make differences. Oh, their style, my style, better than their style. Oh, he got beat. No. It's the teaching method that's different. In the end, to me, from my opinion, in the end, it's in combat, it's the same. You have to implement anything and everything at that dynamic moment. And a lot of the young martial artists, they don't realize that until they get a little bit more senior, a little bit more, a little bit more tenure in that system. It's like discovering new information. But the more you kind of regurgitate it, the more confident you get in it and being able to apply it. Yeah. So Dentoy's experience with Dentoy School to learn the cuerdas and integrate it with the Serrada and the Larga Mano and the other I would say concepts and drills like Di Cadena that he would use, Espada Daga, those type of emphasis that he used to demonstrate the ability to integrate those three styles was something to see. And to feel, because when we did it repetitiously, and we trained for every scenario, and he would put us through these different drills until we made it work for ourselves, and we moved on, continued to move on. So by the time the mid 80s, late 80s, we started to develop the Eskrima Coalition, and that's where I felt more comfortable in staying involved. The Bahala system that originally in, it grew, but then it started to, the interests and the priorities started to drift away from my own values. I didn't feel it was meeting my motivation for cultural community growth, is how I would put it. My whole motivation for being involved was to help my culture, my heritage, to be more aware, to let people know, hey, we have this martial art, we're very proud, it came from the Philippines, and so on, so on. And then when it became monetized and more commercial, and the community was kind of like, becoming more disinterested in it because of all the things they would say about fees and stuff like that. I kind of drifted away from that. Yeah. But I still train. Today, let's see, we're back it up to 90s. But that went for a while. The coalition went up to like 2000. So late 80s to 2000, the Eskrima Coalition existed pretty strongly. It was open invitation to anybody and everybody. We had a lot of visitors from all over the country that would come, and that's how we were able to meet and greet people and stuff like that. Then let's see, the 2000s, Leo passed away, Gilbertino passed away, John Delia passed away, Art Dioxin passed away. These individuals were the core of the Eskrima Coalition. They were individuals that helped. They grew out of the support from the structure from Leo, Dentoy, and Gilbert. These individuals, that the foundation of the coalition under these three guys, when they passed on, and then Leo passed on, and Gilbert passed on, it was me and Carlito tried to keep it going, but we just couldn't keep the interest. It was just too heavy of a thing to do. So it kind of fizzled out, like I think mid 2000. The Eskrima Coalition kind of faded out. Yeah, so I was hopeful that was going to happen again, but I don't know. Anything can happen, I guess. But it's up to the next generation to do that, But to unify, the way things have evolved, I'm not sure how they can unify without, having biases against one another, I just hope that they realize that these things, the Filipino martial arts, like with any kind of martial arts, the ultimate end result is, can you really protect yourself? That was the primary goal of my interest for joining anyway, or learning. So fast forward, let's see, now I'm pretty much just enjoying life, survive life. When I was learning Eskrima, I was in the military. I was in the military for a long time because when I got out active duty, I was also in the reserve duty for a little while. And I always had to keep it up just in case they mobilized us or whatever. Even though I was in the Air Force, the Air Force, we're kind of our main support, but they might still say, hey, go guard the front gate or something and give you a gun, So I had to keep my awareness and my skill sets up. So, and I enjoyed working out a lot because, it was all since high school, street sports and stuff. So I don't really think I have that interesting of a background, except, I taught a lot of people what I knew. I shared everything I knew. Anybody that would ask me a question, I would try to help them along, answer it, to what works for me, and why, and try to help them to figure out why it's not working out for them. It's kind of like being a trainer, being able to see an individual who can be a boxer. You can see the attributes, and then you say, oh, okay, this person likes to fight or be this way. So you have to make adjustments for that, because you can't force them to do it your exact way. But if you can get it to resemble it and then understand the concept and the purpose, you probably develop them from there. Other than that, I've never really wanted to be a person of high authority or stuff like that. I'm just consider myself a blessed individual to be above ground right now. That's the only way I could put it. I could say confident I can see a person holding a weapon or handling a weapon if they can handle it. I can make an assessment. I'll be probably 80% correct, but 20% wrong. That's a big margin there to be wrong. But I can tell if I square up with a person if their skill set right away, by the way they react in that first few seconds. Other than that, I enjoy seeing individuals light bulb turn on when they see something that works for them. That's rewarding. Yeah, I guess that's rewarding in a lot of aspects of life. When you try to teach somebody something and they catch it. I would like to say my martial arts career is still going because I'll participate if I'm solicited or asked, I'll participate. But other than that, I'm not doing any kind of formal teaching, certifications, or any kind of sidelines like that. But I'm still around. People want to approach me, solicit. I'll share what I know. And that's pretty much the extent of my martial arts career. Up till today. I'm here with you.